Manchester United have identified their ideal striker profile, but has Victor Gyokeres been ruled out? Osimhen, Šeško, and Mbeumo have all been linked, as well as Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Jamie Vardy. United refused to rule out selling Garnacho in the summer. Martinez's surgery is done. Barcelona's Balde is on United's radar, and Manchester United are chasing a Portuguese Wonderkid. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So Laurie Whitwell did a really interesting piece yesterday from The Athletic regarding Manchester United's striker search and, revealed a few kind of insights, some names. So I'm going to run through that together firstly for you. But I actually kind of thought the interesting one was around the profile of striker. So firstly, he said the issue with the strikers was figuring out how to get goals into the team will be Ruben Amorim's major task ahead of next season. And while, as United's head coach says, improved confidence may lead to better form from Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee, the sight of Kobbie Mainoo up front against Crystal Palace suggests another answer lies in the transfer market. So Laurie Whitwell kind of saying, look, Amorim has said that his strikers do need some more confidence. I do think we need to provide more service to our strikers. That is definitely an area of concern and has been for a while where we don't get... I think Rasmus Højlund's got one of the lowest touches in the penalty area for any striker in the Premier League, which is... shows that the issue doesn't just lie solely at the feet of the strikers, but it's what they're doing outside of the box as well, which is, which is calling the question mark specifically for Højlund as well. But yeah, so Laurie Whitwell was saying, look, yes, confidence might be a good thing for the strikers, but the fact that they were both benched against Palace suggests that actually maybe it's a little bit of a deeper issue for Amorim and the strikers. But then he also went on to say that Amorim's ideal striker for his system, as communicated to those in the industry, is one who runs in behind repeatedly. Ruben Amorim wants his ideal striker to command presence and be an aggressive runner. So that's interesting. I actually think that's Højlund's strength, though, don't you? I think he's like his strength, I think, is running in behind because he's fast for somebody of his size. And I think he is quite an aggressive runner as well. So it's kind of crazy. But again, I don't think Amorim's had time on the training pitch to kind of learn things and adapt and that's one of the things that hopefully maybe we could see change going forward. And I think if he had better players around him though as well, but it's interesting. That's the type of profile that we're going for. One who runs behind repeatedly and commanding presence and an aggressive runner. So that's interesting. Give us some ideas who you think would fit that kind of mold in the comments below. Now, Laurie Whitwell also went through some other profiles. So he said that a reunion between Victor Gyokeres and Ruben Amorim is considered unlikely at this stage. He wants to join a Champions League team, and United are reluctant to commit such a large sum of money to a player who turns 27 in June. The club's strategy is to invest in younger recruits. Now, we did hear that actually last summer when Ineos first came in, was that they were ideally targeting players younger than 25. I think Mazraoui was an exception to that rule, but Mazraoui was like 14 million quid, which was an absolute bargain. That maybe they couldn't refuse. But, it is kind of, it's one of these with Gyokeres. I do think Champions football would be a big kind of issue with him personally as well. Plus, by the time he turns 27 in June, does he want to come to United for a project, or is he going to want to go to a team that's already kind of a little bit ahead of us as well? And I know some of you have been saying that in the comments as well, regarding Gyokeres and Champions League football and potentially other clubs being better suited, to offer him not just first team football, but also, competing for top four in Champions League and stuff as well. So it is one of those when it comes to Gyokeres. I still think we'll potentially be interested in him, but whether we would get him or not, who knows? But according to Laurie Whitwell, unlikely at this stage. Now, one player who I do think might probably be a little bit more likely is Liam Delap. Remember, David Ornstein's linked us with him. So he's definitely a player, I think, of interest to United. We will also have the following to say on him. Manchester United have been tracking Liam Delap, who moved from Manchester City to Ipswich Town on a permanent deal last summer. However, Manchester City included a £40 million buyback clause. That's interesting because the previous reports were saying 20 million. a buyback clause in his contract when he moved to Ipswich, complicating any potential move. Additionally, Chelsea have shown interest in Delap, as mentioned in a related web result, and which might affect Manchester United's pursuit. So Laurie Whitworth saying that Delap is being tracked. And he did also say in the report as well, previous relationship with Jason Wilcox, which is interesting because Jason Wilcox was Man City's academy, or had a lot to do with City's academy, so he would have kind of been aware of Liam Delap. So that's an interesting link as well. £40 million buyback clause, so that will complicate things because as someone's mentioned before in previous comments, that if City buy him back for 40, they could then sell him on, and it would be pure profit, homegrown profit for them as well. So that is something we might need to potentially contend with. But I do think that there is interest in Liam Delap. Now, the next player also mentioned in the report was Benjamin Šeško. He said Benjamin Šeško has continued to be followed since United had the opportunity to sign him when he was at Domzale. And then he's also said linked us with Mbeumo, saying that Manchester United have scouted Bryan Mbeumo, the most recent time being for Brentford's game against Tottenham Hotspur earlier this month. Brentford would look for a club record sale, so they're going to be after some dollar for Mbeumo, although I do think he's out of contract next year as well, so that would maybe be a potentially something we could haggle with or bargain with as well. But Brentford are going to say they're going to want big money for him because they don't want to lose players as well. But he is a player that we've been linked with a few times in the past as well. Though the interesting thing in the report, he said that data analysis suggests that Rasmus Højlund could be a solution for Manchester United's striker position. This is supported by the web result from FBref, which provides detailed statistics and comparisons for Højlund, indicating his potential suitability based on performance metrics. And again, this is one where the eye test suggests that Rasmus is not doing particularly good at the moment. He's in a poor vein of form, not just because of his goal scoring. Like, I don't judge Rasmus or any striker at United for their goals. It's more about his general play. His play outside of the box is what's been poor from Højlund. Like, he's spending more time on his face than he is on his feet. He's not getting the ball enough. He's not passing. He's not retaining possession. Like, those sort of things are like your fundamentals. If he's not scoring goals, he doesn't get chances. I think if we created more chances for our striker, we potentially would have, more goals, but we just simply don't. And whether that's down to his form, his movement and stuff, we can argue amongst that in the comments. But interesting that the data suggests that actually Rasmus Højlund would be a good fit for the system, which is weird. Now, he did also mention in the report around some free transfers. So given United's financial position, there might be a temptation to look at the free agent market, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's 27, and Jamie Vardy, 38, both out of contract in the summer. That, though, would go against the plan for Juve. So I think this has been blown a little bit out of proportion as well, because if you actually read the words in the report, it says there might be a temptation to look at the free agency market. And then he just mentions Calvert-Lewin and Jamie Vardy, who are both out of contract, not suggesting that United are interested in them, just giving examples of players. Like, if you're going to go for a free transfer as a striker, then I would be all over Jonathan David. And I know some of you in the comments from previous videos, have been mentioning about Jonathan David. There's not really been any serious links with us over the last few days regarding that. But that would be the kind of thing I would suggest that Laurie Whitworth was saying, is that, look, we might go into the free transfer market because of the financial situation, but I think we should be picking up players on the free anyway if we want them. I don't see that as a big issue. Like, Angel Gomez is available for free in the summer. I think that would be a good replacement for Eriksen, who's going to be leaving for free in the summer as well. So I don't think it's a particular issue, but I do think that's been blown out of proportion, because how can you in one report say we're not going to go for Gyokeres because he's 27 in June, and then also link you with Jamie Vardy and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who are both, the same age? So again, I think it's been blown a little bit out of proportion, because I think he's just given an example of players that are free agents. But let me know what you think in the comments regarding that. And then the final strikers we've been linked with recently is Osimhen. So Manchester United are plotting a summer bid for Victor Osimhen and have begun making plans to hold negotiations over the transfer. Members of United's hierarchy and Ruben Amorim have pinpointed him as a signing. So that came from Danny Rust and Dean Jones, who are fairly decent sources, specifically when it comes to like Man United news. So Osimhen name still being mentioned and linked with United as well. But overall, I don't think there's any surprises in that particular report from Laurie Whitwell because they're players that we have been linked with before. We've been linked with Mbeumo before. Šeško, we've had interest for a while. The Gyokeres one will be interesting to see what we do regarding that, whether it is, he wants European football, in which case, fair enough, if we're not in the Champions League. If we get Champions League, what does that kind of mean? Delap still seems to be one of the ones I would definitely be keeping an eye on because I think there's clear interest from there as well. Obviously, the link with David Ornstein plus the Jason Wilcox kind of link with him being at City as well. But the City buyback clause could potentially complicate that deal. Plenty of names on the list. Osimhen, so I suppose the question for you to get involved in the comments, who would you kind of go for the striker situation? Let me know down below because I'd be interested to hear your opinions on that. Now let's move on to some other news. So Manchester United, Arsenal, Real Madrid and PSG are all interested in Rodrigo Mora from Porto, who has a release clause worth £55 million in his Porto contract. Mora is highly regarded inside Old Trafford, with sources stating that key figures at the club are already convinced that the Portuguese Wonderkid is destined to become a leading player in world football. Now, that came from Ekram, who's linked us with about 50 players. He does have a large following, though, online. I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced by the credibility, but it is a player that we have been linked with before. We were linked with him a few months ago, if I remember rightly. It's definitely a name that I'm familiar with. 17-year-old, he's an attacking midfielder, right-footed, so would probably come in as that kind of inside 10 role, I think, or the left 10 role position. If you do some if you do some Googling and research his stuff on him, he's widely regarded as a generational talent. The thing that keeps popping up is generational talent as the kind of thing when it comes to Mora. Very interesting profile. Looks really, really good actually for a young lad, and obviously would fit the mold of being young, developmental, up and coming. I think that would be a good move as well to get somebody to kind of be Bruno's understudy as well, but can kind of bridge that gap where potentially could be in and out of the first team as well. £55 million seems a bit excessive though for somebody that age and that inexperience. Whether you could negotiate that down, because Porto do sometimes sell their players for less than their release clause, but if there's competition from Arsenal, Madrid and PSG and big clubs, unlikely, so you're probably going to have to pay his release clause, and that's a big outlay for somebody so young. I think he turns 18 in the summer. So, it's one of these where keep an eye on it for you. Very interesting profile of player. Definitely one I would be excited for United to be going in for, but a bit reserved about the credibility, being truthful with you. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you know much about the player. Do you think he'd be a good kind of player to bring in, young player to bring in for United? It'd be interesting to hear your opinions on it. And then just while we're on the forwards, Manchester United have confirmed it is Chido Obi and not Chido Obi Martin. His name is his middle name is Martin. The player also asked for the Martin to be dropped. So Steve Railston saying that Chido just wants to be known as Chido Obi, not Chido Obi Martin. We will respect that going forward as well. What a fantastic prospect he is as well. Obviously the hat-trick hero for the FA Youth Cup the other day as well. Looks a really, really quality player. Whether he's quite ready to take the step up just yet, I'm not entirely convinced by. He's still a young lad, just turned 17, but got hopefully a fantastic future ahead of him as well. Scores goals for fun, and that's something that's kind of instinctive in him as well. It's just his general play and his overall play. But he is a really, really fantastic player. It's exciting to kind of see how he develops. Chido Obi. Manchester United could sanction Garnacho's exit in the summer in a bid to generate additional funds to make a high-profile signing. The Red Devils slapped a £70 million price tag on their winger after he was the subject of interest from Serie A table toppers Napoli and Premier League counterparts Chelsea. Manchester United have refused to rule out the possibility of cashing in on Garnacho ahead of next season if his departure would give them enough funds to get a deal for a primary target over the line. I think Garnacho for £70 million would definitely give us enough funds, considering last summer we spent, £200 million, and a lot of that was based on the homegrown players that we sold, Cambuala, McTominay and Greenwood, where we got £50 million. for those three. So if you've got 70 for Garnacho, a homegrown player, that would allow us to kind of go on a bit of a splurge this summer. And then if you also add into Rashford potentially going for what 40 million is his kind of option for Aston Villa. So I'd imagine they would sell him for around that kind of figure to another club as well. It could mean that we have a bit of funds available in the summer if we would. Definitely would if we sold both of them. Whether we would want to sell Garnacho or not, I think it would just depend on how he does between now and the end of the season. Plus, how our finances are fixed for the summer as well. But personally, I think he's doing well. I would still want to keep Garnacho. I think he's a fantastic young player. But again, depends on how he develops in that position between now and the end of the season. Now, in the same report, it also said that Barcelona left-back Balde among the names on the radar as a potential acquisition, despite strengthening their defensive options a matter of days ago. Again, from Dean Jones, who's a decent source, but not the most credible linking us. I can't see that one. I can't see that being completely truthful with you. We bought Leon. And we've obviously bought Dorgu. Dorgu, rumours are he's been training at left wing back this week, but I don't know that it's not from the most credible place. But the rumours are that he's been playing at left wing back. Would we need another left back? I mean, is an area where we've gone from having pretty much none to then all of a sudden you've got Harry Amas potentially still there as well, although he's not seen as kind of physically ready to take the step up, but who knows next season. So I think we've got a few players that we could potentially do there. Do we need another one? I'm not entirely convinced unless you use Dorgu at the right wing back, but then we're heavily linked with Kenda as well. So, and the Kenda news is much more credible. That's coming from David Ornstein and stuff as well. So I would say, I'll keep an eye on it for you. But at the moment, I'm not entirely convinced in that story. But let me know what you think in the comments. Lisandro Martinez has undergone surgery to repair the torn anterior cruciate ligament. The initial signs are that the surgery was successful. Recovery periods can range from anywhere between 6 months and a year. And surgery completed today for Lisandro Martinez as Manchester United staff decided to proceed after ACL injury. His season is already over and Lisandro will try to be back before the end of the year 2025, but precise timing will depend on recovery and rehab progress. That's a long time he's going to be out for. It leaves us in a bit of a position. I know we brought in Aiden Heaven, but he was always seen as like the understudy for Martinez, as someone that can kind of rotate and develop and learn off of. And now we've not got Martinez. Do we need to now go into the centre half market? I think we would have potentially wanted to get someone there anyway. But it leaves us massively light in that position because Martinez is a warrior on the pitch. His ball playing ability, I think, for the centre half helps us massively as a team, and it is something that we missed last season when he was injured. Something we're going to miss again for the rest of the season. So we're going to obviously need to think about what we're going to do in that position in the summer. And then the final story I've got for you is that our Brazilian Wonderkid, Antony, has been absolutely smashing it at Real Betis. 2 goals in his first 3 games for Betis. Got an assist on his debut as well. Got 2 Man of the Match awards as well. And I just genuinely hope that continues. I really hope he continues that vein of form. Let's not forget he scored 3 goals in his first 3 games for us. And then completely nosedived off a cliff after that as well. But I genuinely hope Antony continues that vein of form, because the better he performs, the more likely we are to get a permanent deal for him in the summer. At the moment, it's looking like we might have to loan him back out again. Which doesn't really help us massively, although the deal I think we got for him paying 85% or 84% of his wages is a decent one. It would still be nice just to free up those entire funds and create the squad space and maybe get some money in as well for Antony. So the better he performs while he's out on loan, the better it is. He's just putting himself in the shop window. So the fact that he's doing well or started really well there, I'm really, really happy with, and I'm positive about that as well. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I'll see you in the next one.